ramp-up of new factories, and we believe there's still meaningful room for improvement there. Regarding autopilot and AI, our vehicles now driven over 500 million miles with FSD beta, full self-driving beta, and that number is growing rapidly. We recently completed a 10,000 GPU cluster of H100s. We think probably bringing it into operation faster than anyone's ever brought that much compute per unit time into production, since training is the fundamental limiting factor on progress with full self-driving and vehicle autonomy. We're also seeing significant promise with FSD version 12. This is the end-to-end AI where it's photon count in, controls out. Or really, you can think of it as there's just a large bit stream coming in and a tiny bit stream going out, compressing reality into a very small set of outputs, which is actually kind of how humans work. The vast majority of human data input is optics from our eyes. And so we are, like the car, photons in, controls out, with neural nets, just neural nets in the middle. It's very interesting to think about that. We will continue to invest significantly in AI development, as this is really the massive game changer. And I mean, success in this regard in the long term, I think, has the potential to make Tesla the most valuable company in the world by far. If you have fully autonomous cars at scale and fully autonomous humanoid robots that are truly useful, it's not clear what the limit is. Regarding energy storage, we deployed 4 gigawatt hours of energy of storage products in Q3. And as this business grows, the energy division is becoming our highest margin business. Energy and service now contribute over $500 million to quarterly profit. The Cybertruck, I know a lot of people are excited about the Cybertruck. I am too. I've driven the car. It's an amazing product. I do want to emphasize that there will be enormous challenges in reaching volume production with the Cybertruck, and then in making the Cybertruck cash flow positive. This is simply normal for when you've got a product with a lot of new technology, or any new vehicle, brand new vehicle program, but especially one that is as different and advanced as the Cybertruck, you will have problems proportionate to how many new things you're trying to solve at scale. So I just want to emphasize that while I think this is potentially our best product ever, and I think it is our best product ever, it is going to require immense work to reach volume production and be cash flow positive at a price that people can afford. Often people do not understand what is truly hard. That's why I say prototypes are easy, production is hard. People think it's the idea, or you make a prototype, you design a car, and it's not as though designing a car is that just anyone can do it. It does require taste. It does require effort to design a prototype. But the difficulty of going from a prototype to volume production is like 10,000% harder to get to volume production than to make the prototype in the first place. And then it is even harder than that to reach positive cash flow. That is why there have not been new car startups that have been successful for 100 years, apart from Tesla. So, I just want to temper expectations for Cybertruck. It's a great product, but financially, it will take, a year to 18 months before it is a significant positive cash flow contributor. I wish there was some way to for that to be different, but that's my best guess. So really the demand is off the charts. We have over 1 million people who have reserved the car, so it's not a demand issue, but we have to make it, and we need to make it at a price that people can afford. Insanely difficult things. In conclusion, we continue to focus on ramping production while maintaining positive cash flow, and we continue to target and expect to have around 1.8 million vehicle deliveries, as stated earlier this year. The Tesla AI team is, I think, one of the world's best, and I think it is actually by far the world's best when it comes to real-world AI. I'll say that again. Tesla has the best real-world AI team on Earth, period. And it's getting better. And lastly, I wanted to thank all of our employees who are making a lot of extra effort during uncertain times. Thank you very much for your hard work and the impact that you're making.
Thank you very much. And now let's go to investor questions. The first investor question comes from Craig. How many Cybertruck deliveries do you anticipate for 2024?
It's difficult to make an accurate guess at this point. Going back to what I said earlier, that the ramp is going to be extremely difficult. Like I said, there's no way around that. If you try to make, if we just try to do some copycat vehicle design, of which there are literally 200 models that are slight variations on a theme in the combustion engine world, just distinctions without a difference, then it's really not that hard. But if you want to do something radical and innovative and something really special like the Cybertruck, it is extremely difficult because there's nothing to copy. You have to invent not just the car, but the way to make the car. So the more uncharted the territory, the less predictable the outcome. Now, I can say that if you say, well, where will things end up? I think we'll end up with roughly 250,000 Cybertrucks a year. But I don't think we're going to reach that output rate next year. I think we'll probably reach it sometime in 2025. That's my best guess.
Thank you. The second question is, can you provide a progress update on the 4680 cell, particularly progress towards performance improvements and cost savings outlined on Battery Day? Thank you.
Sure thing, Martin. 4680 cell production in Texas increased 40% quarter over quarter. Congrats to the Texas team for producing their 20 millionth cell off of line 1. Texas is now our primary 4680 facility. We're heavily focused on quality. Scrap is down 40% quarter over quarter. With the increased volume and yield improvements, cell costs consistently improved month over month within the quarter, although we have a lot more work to do to achieve our steady state goals. And that is our priority. The Cybertruck cell, with 10% higher energy than our Model Y cell, started production on line 2 in Texas. This quarter, we convert to building 100% Cybertruck cells to simplify and focus the factory as we ramp all 4 lines in phase 1 over the next 3 quarters. Phase 2 of the Texas 4680 facility is currently under construction. The additional 4 lines incorporate further capital efficiencies over phase 1, and our target is for them to start producing in late 2024. Lastly, in Cato, we're retooling to enable large-scale pilot runs of our next-generation cell designs. Cato's long-term goal is to be the launch pad for new cells, 1 generation ahead of our mass production facilities, enabling faster iteration and smoother ramp-ups of new designs.
Thank you. The next question from institutional investors, could you please provide an update on capacity expansion plans for companies' factories in Berlin and Austin, and the opening schedule of Gigafactory Mexico?
Berlin and Austin factory, the current priority is actually maximize the output from our existing lines by laser focus on efficiency improvements. as always, maintaining a high quality and reducing per unit cost will be as critical as growing the production volume. For Mexico, we're working on infrastructure and factory design in parallel with the engineering development of the new production that will be manufactured there. That's all I can share for that.
Yeah, in Mexico, we're laying the groundwork to begin construction and doing all the long lead items. But I think we want to just get a sense for what the global economy is like before we go full tilt on the Mexico factory. I'm worried about the high interest rate environment that we're in. I just can't emphasize this enough that for the vast majority of people, buying a car is about the monthly payment. And as interest rates rise, the proportion of that monthly payment that is interest increases naturally. So that's if interest rates remain high, or if they go even higher, it's that much harder for people to buy the car. They simply cannot afford it. And we are tracking, I believe, at this point for Model Y to be the best-selling car on Earth, but not just in revenue, but in unit volume. If you compare that to the other vehicles that are, number 2 and number 3 and whatnot, they cost much less than our car. So we're just hitting law of large numbers situations here. I know people want us to advertise, and we are advertising. I think there is something to be gained on the advertising front. I don't think it's nothing, but informing people of a car that is great that they cannot afford doesn't really help. So that is really the thing that must be solved, is to make the car affordable, or the average person cannot buy it for any amount of money, or they simply can't afford it. They can't afford it. So this is a big deal.
Thank you. Next question is, do you have an approximate timeline in mind for the robotaxi, driven or non-driven? What excites you most about how this project is progressing?
Well, the robotaxi is necessarily non-driven. I guess I'm very excited about our progress with autonomy. The end-to-end, nothing but nets, self-driving software is amazing. I drives me all around Austin with no interventions. So it's clearly the right move. So it's really pretty amazing. And obviously that same software and approach will enable optimists to do useful things, and enable optimists to learn how to do things simply by looking. So extremely exciting in the long term. As I mentioned before, given that economic output is number of people times productivity, if you no longer have a constraint on people, effectively you've got a humanoid robot that can do as much as you'd like. Your economy is quasi infinite, or infinite for all intents and purposes. So, and I don't think anyone's going to do it better than Tesla, not by a long shot. Boston Dynamics is impressive, but their robot lacks a brain. They're like the Wizard of Oz or whatever.
It means.
Yeah, lacks a brain. And then you also need to be able to design the humanoid robot in such a way that it can be mass manufactured. And then at some point, the robots will manufacture the robots. Now, obviously, we need to make sure that there's a good place for humans in that future, and we do not create some variant of the Terminator outcome. So we're going to put a lot of effort into localized control of the humanoid robot. So basically anyone will be able to shut it off locally, and you can't change that even if with like a software update. You can't change that. It has to be hard coded.
Thank you. The next question is, why was the price dropped on FSD if it is getting better and robotaxi is expected so soon?
Well, we just wanted to make it more affordable, so more people could try it. I think over time the price of FSD will increase proportionate to its value. So I would regard the current price as a kind of a temporary low.
Thank you. The next question is again on FSD. Mercedes is accepting legal liability for when its level 3 autonomous driving system Drive Pilot is active. Is Tesla planning to accept legal liability for FSD? And if so, when?
Well, there's a lot of people that assume we have legal liability, judging by the lawsuits. We're certainly not being let off the hook on that front, whether would like to or wouldn't like to. So,
I mean, I think it's important to remember for everyone that Mercedes' system is limited to a few roads in Nevada and some certain cities in California. It doesn't work in the snow or the fog. It must have a lead car, marked lanes, only 40 miles per hour. Our system is meant to be holistic and drive in any conditions, so we obviously have a much more capable approach, but with those kind of limitations, it's really not very useful.
I think some people understand the profundity of the Tesla AI system. Most people, very, very few. It's basically baby AGI. It has to understand reality in order to drive. Baby AGI.
Thank you. The next question on Optimus. Will Optimus be working on Gigafactory lines next year? If so, how many would you guess will be deployed?
I think at this point we are not ready to discuss details of the Optimus program, but we will provide periodic updates online. So as you can see, where Optimus a year ago could barely walk, and now it can do yoga. So a few years from now, it can probably do ballet.
Sounds good. And the last question from investors is, neural net path planning represents a significant advance in capability and safety for FSD. What steps is Tesla taking to make this technology available outside the US?
Yeah, our approach has been to try to get it, like the more places we try to make it work, the harder the problem is. So the reason we don't do it in all countries simultaneously is that it would take much longer to make it work anywhere at all. So that's why it's currently just North America. And also for most parts of the world, you have to get approval before deploying things, whereas in the US, you can deploy things at risk, or at least you take liability for what you deploy. So it's whereas most countries require some sort of extensive approval program. So we only want to go through that extensive approval program when we think it's kind of ready for prime time in that country. I apologize that it's not in those countries, but we keep finding ways to make it better, and it needs to drive. It needs to drive such that it exceeds the even unsupervised, significantly exceeds the probability of injury of a human. significantly better, a lower probability of injury than a human by far. I think we're tracking to that point very quickly. Obviously, in the past, I've been overly optimistic about this. The reason I've been overly optimistic is that the progress tends to sort of look like a log curve, which is that you have kind of rapid initial improvements, and that if you were to extrapolate that sort of rapid, fairly linear rate of improvement, you get to self-driving quite quickly, but then the rate of improvement curves over logarithmically and starts to asymptote. That's now happened several times. I would characterize our progress in real-world AI as a series of stacked log curves. I think that is also true in other parts of AI, like LLMs and whatnot. Series of stacked log curves. Each log curve gets higher than the last one. So if you keep stacking them, keep stacking logs, eventually you get to FSD.
Thank you. Let's now go to analyst questions. The first question comes from Will Stein from Truist. Will, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great. Thanks so much for taking my question, and thanks for all the updates today. We learned earlier in the call, it sounds like you don't think the truck will ramp to significant volume until its third year of production. Should we have a similar anticipation for the ramp of the next-gen platform, or is there any reason that we should be maybe more optimistic or pessimistic about the ramp profile there? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, it's not really the third year of production. It's kind of like the 18th month of production is roughly my guess. So it's just that it'll happen is that it starts this year, spans next year, and gets to 2025. So technically there are 3 calendar years in there, but there's actually only 18 months, not 3 years. I would be very disappointed if it took us, and that would be shocking if it took us 3 years. But 18 months from initial deliveries to reach volume and reach prosperity with an immense, I can't tell you how much the blood, sweat, and tears level required to achieve that is just staggering. I've been through it many times. And then here we go again.
Similar path for the next-gen platform?
I mean, there's like unique complexity to Cyber.
Yeah. I mean, Cybertruck is.
Speaking of honest.
Yeah, I mean, we dug our own grave with Cybertruck. Nobody, in general, I find like nobody digs their grave better than themselves, and so, it is. Cybertruck is one of those special products that comes along only once in a long while. And special products that come along once in a long while are just incredibly difficult to bring to market, to reach volume, to be prosperous. It's fundamental to the nature of the newness. So now the sort of high volume, low cost, smaller vehicle is actually much more conventional.
In terms of like the technologies we're putting into it, we didn't have to invent how to bend full hard stainless steel or have mega 9,000 ton castings or the largest hot stamping in the world or new high voltage.
Evolutionary quite in the same way as the Cybertruck. I think it will be quite a fast ramp. So as Lars was saying, we're doing everything possible to simplify that vehicle in order to achieve a units per minute level that is unheard of in the auto industry.
Yeah, I mean, the simplification makes it easier to automate. It also makes it lower cost.
Yeah,
it's intrinsically lower cost.
Yeah. Let's be clear, is it'll be cool, but it's utilitarian. It's not meant to be, fill you with, awe and magic. It's to get you from A to B. And it'll be still beautiful, but it's utilitarian. It's a utility.
Doesn't have 14 inches of travel under suspension.
Yeah,
As an example.
yeah. The Cybertruck has a lot of bells and whistles.
Let's go to Colin Langham from Wells Fargo. Colin, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, sorry about that. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thanks for taking my question. You said in the commentary that you're not going full tilt on the plant in Mexico until there's signs that the economy is strong. Can you continue at a 50% CAGR without that plant? And where would that come from? And any color on what you mean sort of not going full tilt? Could that plant get delayed indefinitely? Or what are we kind of talking about?
No, we're definitely making the factory in Mexico. We feel very good about that. We put a lot of effort into looking at different locations, and we feel very good about that location. And we are going to build a factory there, and it's going to be great. The question is really just one of timing, and I'm just going to be a broken record on the interest front. It's just the interest rates have to come down. Like if interest rates keep rising, you just fundamentally reduce affordability. It is just the same as increasing the price of the car. So I just don't have visibility into. If you can tell me what the interest rates are, I can tell you when we should build the factory. We're going to build it, and I think we'll start the initial phases of construction next year. But I am still somewhat scarred by 2009 when General Motors and Chrysler went bankrupt. So, that's now 14 years ago. It's that is seared into my mind with a branding iron. Because Tesla was just hanging on by a thread during that entire time, and when we closed our financing round in 2008 at 6 p.m. December 24th, Christmas Eve, and if we had not closed that financing round, we would have bounced payroll 2 days after Christmas. So we actually closed that round on the last hour of the last day that it was possible. Stressful to say the least, and then barely made it through 2009. So I'm like, I want to just, I don't want to be going at top speed into uncertainty. A lot of wars going on in the world, obviously, as well.
And we have room here, like in Giga, Texas. You said we still have room in this building. It's not full with Cybertruck and Model Y, and there's plenty of growth opportunities still to have inside the building where our team already is.
We also have 2,000 acres here.
Yeah, so there's also a bunch more.
We're actually only occupying a tiny corner of the land that we have. So we could technically do all the scaling necessary just here. Personnel is our biggest challenge in that the greater Austin area only has, generously, the greater Austin area only has 2 million people. So people are moving here and they're willing to move here, but there is somewhat of a housing crisis. They got to live somewhere.
Okay,
yeah.
I guess
So I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm not saying things will be bad. I'm just saying they might be, and I think Tesla is an incredibly capable ship, but if we need to make sure, if the macroeconomic conditions are stormy, even if the best ship is still going to have tough times, the weaker ships will sink. We're not going to sink, but you know, even a great ship in a storm has challenges. Now that storm will apply to everyone, not just us, and not just the auto industry. It'll apply to everyone, I think. So, you know, apart from necessary sort of staples like food and stuff, but you know, so I don't know. If interest rates start coming down, we will accelerate.
All right.
If anybody's got any guesses on this, you know, I'd love to be less wrong. And I apologize if I'm perhaps more paranoid than I should be, because that might also be the case, because I have PTSD from 2009, big time. And in 2017 through 19 were not picnic either. That was very, very tough going. So, you know, the auto industry is also somewhat cyclic. It's because, you know, people tend to hesitate to buy a new car and if there's uncertainty in the economy. So it's, you know, car companies do very well in good economic times, and they don't do as well in tough economic times. So it's just, you know, whereas if somebody's selling bread, then I think, you know, that people still need to have bread. Yeah. Yeah, you need bread. If you need food all the time, but new car, you don't have to have right this minute.
Especially if there are wars going on, and then that impacts your sentiment.
Yeah. I mean, if people are reading about wars all over the world, you know, buying a new car tends to not be front of mind.
All right. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Thank you very much for all of your good questions, and we'll see you again in 3 months. Thank you very much.